Morning, so here we are in Bolton at Leatherhewn Park, site of the famous Bolton Harriers track and venue for some British and world records over the years at the longer distances with Ron Hill and indeed my dad, Mike Freary, setting a few records on the track there. I'm just doing a lap of the cross-country course right now, or the playing fields next to this track. We're going to do a bit of an experiment today. We're going to look at 3 shoes and see how they perform and crunch the data a little bit. So they're the Endorphin trilogy of shoes from Saucony, and we've got the Endorphin Shift, the Endorphin Speed and the Endorphin Pro. Now the Pro is the brand's carbon plated racing shoe. The Speed is similar to the Shift, to the Pro rather, but with a nylon plate. And the Speed, well, it doesn't have a plate at all, but it does have a familiar exaggerated toe off and rocker to emphasize or to help propulsion, toe off, roll off, and roll you through your stride, make you feel a little bit quicker. So of course the question is, which one's best and which one's most efficient? I was thinking about the metrics involved: cadence, stride length, pace, heart rate, speed, time over the distance. And it's a 1 mile loop that we're going to do around the park. And a lot of these are very variable, of course. And of course, doing 3 laps, 3 times a mile, in 3 different shoes, it's hard to judge the effort precisely. At first thought, I wanted to do the 3 efforts at the same heart rate. But if the shoe's making me quicker, my heart rate's going to be lower. But I'll run faster, but it's hard to monitor heart rate whilst I'm on the move. So, I was thinking about the various things, and I'm going to try and run at the same tempo, i.e. cadence. I'm going to do that with the help of a metronome. Now I usually run at around about 180 cadence, 180 strides per minute. So what I'm going to do to help me stay on that is I'm going to use a metronome app on my phone. I have a phone in my pocket and a headphone in, and I'm going to perhaps do a minute or so prior to the start of the I'm going to measure and try and maintain a constant cadence, because I think that's going to be the easiest thing to try and replicate on each rep. Then we'll look at the data and we'll look if if my stride was increased by the springier, bouncier, more responsive shoes, if the stride was longer at the same cadence, and the speed and the heart rate, the effort as well. So hopefully we should get some definitive, and well, not really definitive, I'm sure lots of people have got lots of different theories on what makes a shoe the most efficient and the best way of measuring it outside a lab, of course. So if you have got thoughts on the process, put them down in the comments below. Remember to subscribe and like the videos, please, and please share it if you're interested. We'll perhaps look at people's input and their thoughts on it and try and replicate other testing methods in other videos for other shoes going forward. Okay, quite windswept there, but it's actually quite a still day. It's only about 4 degrees, so it's a little bit chilly, but otherwise a great day for it. So let's crack on. So we've been warming up in the Saucony Hurricane. Okay, so first shoe to try is the Saucony Endorphin Shift. So this shoe is what the band call max cushioning and a little bit of, well, structured cushioning really, a little bit of support in there. Comes from this plastic heel counter. It's got the speed roll shape to it, so this exaggerated toe off. It's a 4mm drop. Now, I've done a lot of sessions on the treadmill and the road in this shoe, but really for me it feels greater than the 4mm drop off. I don't really notice it being 4mm, which is quite low and something that I wouldn't normally go for. So it's got a 38mm stack in the heel and 34 in the forefoot. You see the speed roll, the form fit upper, that fits snugly around the midfoot. So I've liked this shoe, and it's one that I put most miles in because I think it's the best all-rounder, shall we say, for training and faster runs as well. So let's give it a go. I'll put the metronome on, 180 beats per minute, 180 steps per minute cadence, and we'll see how we get on. So that went okay. Running with the metronome on felt okay actually. You do realise that obviously it's a little bit tricky to keep exactly on the pace all the way around, particularly when there's any undulations, but yeah, it felt good, and I felt like a nice even pace. Now I didn't look at any other data. It was about 5:45, although I did miss the pause button at the end of that rep, so we'll take that into account a little bit. Anyway, next shoe up is the Endorphin Speed. Now this one's got the nylon plate. It's got the Power Run PB foam in it. So this is the TPU blend material, and it does feel springy, or springier straight away. So it'd be interesting to see. Recovery is going to probably work out at about 4 minutes here, maybe 5 minutes. So it's going to be a full recovery. Let's see what heart rate it's coming down to. Heart rate's already down to 100, so I would normally be doing reps on maybe 120 recovery. So Endorphin Speed, next one up. Quick run through. 8mm drop. So I kind of like an 8mm drop better usually. Done one long hill session in these early in the week. 35.5mm stack in the heel, 27.5 in the forefoot. Comes in around 220 grams. So let's give these a whirl. Okay, so I'm not going to spoil it, but we think that one was a little bit quicker. Of course, the real question is, what was the heart rate as well? What was the expenditure cost of that speed, if indeed there was any? So now we've got the well, I'll just rewind a second. What I did notice about the speed moving into it from the shift was you just immediately notice the weight difference. So you've got about a 60 gram weight difference between the speed and the shift, so that lightness comes into play certainly. And as soon as I'm fastening the Pro up now, it feels lighter. It feels lighter around the foot. Perhaps it's a slightly thinner upper, but we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. So the Pro, we've got the speed roll shape to it again. Power Run PB midsole, form fit upper, but the very important carbon fibre plate, and that is what we think makes the difference. So coming in at around 213 grams, 8mm drop again, so a nice comfortable drop, I think, for distance racing. Stack height, same as the speed, 35.5mm in the heel, 27.5 in the forefoot with that 8mm again. So let's go and see how the Saucony Endorphin Speed pans out. So that's the session and the experiment done. 3 times a mile, full recovery, recovering down to 100 beats a minute. So we got a fair test. Lots of questions, of course, once we see the results. The wind seemed to, it's kind of an out and back course, Wind seemed to increase on the way out on each one, but of course it was behind me, and you never mention the fact that the wind's behind you all the way home, do you? It's always in your face when you kind of want to talk about it. So that equalises itself, let's say. Heart rate, I think that's where we're going to see the real interesting data. Did I pick up on each session? Was I putting in more effort? Who knows? At first glance, each rep was progressively quicker, but we'll look at the exact numbers later on. So just a bit of a cool down. There's the track in the background. Interesting, regardless of the results, from a perception point of view and the rate of perceived exertion, which is often probably the best measure of efficiency, the shoes felt progressively lighter, progressively more flexible. Question I might have is, was the Pro almost too flexible for me? I normally train in a stable, neutral or mild control shoe. That said, I was warming up in the Hurricane, which is one of the top end support shoes. But I don't mind any level of support, to be honest. When you're doing your steady runs, not really an issue. Thing is, are you using more energy to keep the foot stable? When does it become too much energy? Now I think for me, maybe 5 and 10k in the Pro would be ideal, but I'd be tempted to go marathon in the Speed, because you'd want to do some of your tempo and faster training runs in the same shoe as your marathon shoe, so perhaps offers best value in that respect. That said, Shift, still a great shoe. So that's the test finished. Let's get home, have a shower, grab a coffee and have a look at the data. And like I said, I'll be interested to hear your input, whatever it may be. So do comment below. Cheers.